good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from in the world. Welcome to 5 Days to Purpose and Profit, where Bob Proctor will be sharing his secrets to wealth and fulfillment. And there is nobody better in the world to teach on this subject than Bob Proctor. We are thrilled to be here with you. I'm Mikey Stiller, the Chief Operating Officer and Director of Marketing for the Proctor Gallagher Institute, and I will be your host this week through the training. I'm so happy to be here with you. You're also going to be hearing from several people on our team. You'll be hearing from Iraj Vasugi, Tommy Collier, of course, the legend, Bob Proctor. We have some special guests later this week, so it's going to be a very exciting lineup, an exciting week. And I want to go through a couple of housekeeping items before I hand it over to Bob. The first is this training is completely free. There's absolutely no cost involved, but the training is only taking place right here in this Facebook group. So it won't be posted anywhere else. It won't be sent out an email. The replay will be in this group as well. So if you need anything related to the training, you're going to want to come to this Facebook group, go to units, and you'll see everything related to the training, from the replay to the daily assignments, your introductions from our success advisors, and everything else. So anything you need right here in this group. Now, there is going to be a replay available for a very limited amount of time. The replays each day will go up right after the call, and they'll only stay up until next Monday at midnight Eastern. So you're going to want to watch those really quickly. And then there's something really cool we're doing for this training. We are assigning every single person who registered a success advisor. That is one of our personally trained coaches within the Proctor Gallagher Institute who's going to help you along the success journey. If you have any questions, if you need anything at all, they're there to help you through your journey. So if you don't know who your success advisor is, let us know in the group and we'll help you find them. You should have gotten an email with their name, and I hope that you'll make contact with them and use them to help you through this training. So up next, I'm going to hand it right over to Bob, and he's going to get into an incredible lesson today on purpose and vision. Bob, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mikey. You know, this is probably one of the most important lessons you're going to learn. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. This is not an easy lesson to teach. But it's vitally important that you learn it. Having a definite major purpose is, without question, the key to success. And I want you to think of a number of people that you know. You might fall into the category yourself, where you experience a certain degree of success and then it goes away. And you come on strong and you win again, and then it all fades away. Do you know, it's been estimated that maybe only 5% of the population are really winning, are truly successful, according to the laws that Napoleon Hill laid out in his laws of achievement. That would leave 95% that are not. Now, I've thought about this a lot, and the 95% we could break down into a couple of categories. And I would say take the top 50% of that 95%, and then take the other 45%. And the 45% are just losers. They're going nowhere. They just get by. They're forever looking for a handout. They're living a very tough life. Now, this 50% between the 45 and the 95, I believe they go to seminars. I believe they read some of the books here that I read, that you read. And I believe they follow the rules some of the time. And off and on, they're going to experience a respectable amount of success. But overall, they never really get it. Now, I started, if you know anything about what I've done, I started reading this book in 1961. It's Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And, of course, I experienced a fair amount of success over a short period of time, and I did not have a major purpose. I did not have one. So purpose is really the key. Although I did enjoy a fair amount of success. in a matter of months, I went from struggling and being in debt right up to here to earning a fair amount of money. I went from earning $4,000 a year to $12,500 a month in less than a year. Now, if you annualize the 12.5, you're talking about $175 a year. So here I'm going from $4,000 a year to $175,000 a year, and I did it in a matter of months. How did I do it? Well, I had a goal. And you can have a goal without having a purpose. A lot of people may not know that, but you can. And if it's a good goal, it'll keep you going for quite a while. Now, a lot of people set goals, but they're not really meaningful. They don't really get them going. They don't really wind their stem. They just don't do the job. In 1966, I think it was around 1966, I had the good fortune of going and spending an hour with Earl Nightingale. Now, it was a strange situation that set the meeting up. I've mentioned it before, so you may be familiar with it. I had a sales staff, and I was having a sales meeting, and I was playing the strangest secret record in that sales meeting. And at the end of it, I just said, man, I'd love to sit down and talk to that guy. And there was one of the salespeople looked at me and said, no, you wouldn't. I said, what do you mean I wouldn't? He said, if you wanted to talk to him, you'd go talk to him. I thought, damn, he's right. Now, I phoned his office. I knew he was in Chicago. I got a hold of the number. I phoned his office. Somebody answered the phone. They said, I'm sorry, Earl's not in. But if you'd like to leave a number, I'm sure he'd be happy to call you back. Now, it was very early in the morning. It would be around 8 o'clock in Toronto, so it would be around 7 a.m. in Chicago. Well, Earl starts all of his recordings. Hello, this is Earl Nightingale. A little while later on, somebody yelled, hey, Bob, you're on the phone. So I picked up the phone. Hello, this is Earl Nightingale. Well, I almost dropped the phone. I started hyperventilating. You talk about nerves kicking in. Finally, I calmed down. I got talking to him, and I did get an appointment with him. And I remember I had the appointment at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at 333 North Michigan. That's where the Nightingale Conrad office was in 1966. I got there early, and I'm walking up and down the street and up and down the street, and I was really nervous, and I was thinking, what am I going to talk to him about? And at any rate, I get into his office, and I got talking to him. When I was leaving, I said, Earl, what's the big deal? What is the big deal? I mean, there's got to be some kind of a secret here. Although he had written a recording, the strangest secret. He said, it isn't a secret. Well, he said, there's no secret, Bob. He says, it's simply a matter of a person deciding what they really love to do and then dedicate their life to it. Your purpose is something you really love to do, that you dedicate your life to. Well, I had been winning. I had my income up over $1 million by then, and but I didn't have a purpose. I enjoyed what I was doing. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I did enjoy it, and I was doing it very well. I had offices Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. So I mean, I was by many people's standards pretty successful guy. No formal education, no business experience, but I was eating this book. I mean, studying. When you talk about studying, listening to records. And when he said that, I felt everything in my life shift. And I mean everything shift. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what he was doing, and I wanted to do it with him. I had no idea how that was going to happen. That was in 1966. But I'm going to tell you something. When I walked out of his office that day, I knew I was coming back there. And I knew I was going to work with him. I had absolutely no idea how. That was when things really shifted for me. Now, I never put my purpose in writing for quite a long time. I probably didn't have the right direction to do it for quite a while. And when I did, I want to share it with you. My purpose is to live and work in a prosperous environment. I'm going to digress for a moment. I was in Las Vegas, and I got a call from Mark Victor Hansen. And he said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Las Vegas." He said, "I'm in Las Vegas." We were in the same hotel, but didn't know that. So anyway, we made a time that we'd meet down the coffee shop. And he said, "Les Brown's here too." So I'll see if Les is here. So Les was there, and a lady, a doctor friend of his, was also there. And so there was the three of them and myself. And one thing led to another. We got talking about purpose. And they said, "Do you have a purpose?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do." They said, "What's your purpose?" I said, "My purpose is to live and work in a prosperous environment that encourages productivity so that I can improve the service I render to my family, my company, my community, my nation, and ultimately the world." And I was kind of proud of myself because I had it right there. The lady that was there, I'll have to find out her name from the last one I'm talking to him. She looked at me and she says, "Well, that's rather sad. You have no pleasure in there." I said, "What?" She says, "There's no pleasure in your purpose." So mentally, I repeated it to myself, and I thought, damn, she's right. I said, "You know something, you're right. I'm going to change it right now." So I changed my purpose to read, "My purpose is to live and work in a prosperous environment that encourages productivity and pleasure so that I can improve the service I render to my family, my company, my community, my nation, and ultimately the world." I've been doing that for a long, long time. Now, when you set a goal, your goal's got to be on purpose. I have a lot of opportunities presented to me where I could earn a bucket of money. But I'd be spending time on stuff that is not necessarily on purpose for me. So I turn them down. Now, I used to spend a lot of time looking at these opportunities. I don't anymore. I can calculate real fast. If it's not on purpose, I don't want it. It's got to be on purpose. Your vision comes after your purpose. You see, I think your purpose actually comes first. Then your vision. And let's look at it this way. Scott, if you'll put that slide up for a moment. Not the slide, the screen. Here we go. Let's suppose this is you here. Your purpose goes like a vision or like a funnel. And there's all kinds of things you want to do in here. Each one of these are things you want to do. This is your vision. It's a long-range view of a multiplicity of things you want to do that all fall into line with your purpose. Your goal is taking a bite out of that right there. Now, that's how I see the vision going. Your vision is a long-range view. It goes out, we're not even sure how many years it would go out. I don't even think they're counting the years. It's just a future. And it's like a funnel coming out of your head, and it just keeps getting wider and wider and more things. And they're all on purpose. They've got to be on purpose. Now, I have taken the liberty of reading here, sharing with you exactly where I got it. And I'm going to talk to you, pardon me, about Napoleon Hill and his story with Carnegie and how he landed on his major purpose, because this is what it's about. The story behind the organization of this philosophy is one with dramatic connotations in connection with the importance that Andrew Carnegie placed on definiteness of purpose. If you don't have definiteness of purpose, I'll tell you what happens. You know, we talked about that 50% group, you know, on top of the 45 who were just going nowhere. I mean, really losing. And then there's 50% of the population, and then the 5% at the top that are really making it happen. The 5% at the top are on purpose. All their goals are on purpose. They don't do anything that's not on purpose. So they have a major purpose in their life, and that dictates where they're going to go and what they're going to do. Andrew Carnegie placed, he said, the importance that he placed on major definite purpose. He had developed his great steel industry and accumulated a huge fortune in money when he turned his interest to the use and the disposition of his fortune. Having recognized that the better portion of his riches consisted in knowledge, with which he had accumulated material riches, and his understanding of human relationships, his major aim in life, because of inspiring someone to organize, or became that of inspiring someone to organize a philosophy that would convey this knowledge to all who might desire it. So his purpose was to find someone that would get this across. He was then well along in years, and he recognized that the job called for the service of a young man who had time and the inclination to spend 20 years or more in research into the causes of individual achievement. After interviewing more than 250 people whom he suspected might have such ability, he met by mere chance a young man who had been sent by a magazine to interview him for the story of his achievements. Carnegie, by the way, if you're not familiar, this was going back to 1908, was the wealthiest man in the world. Carnegie's keen insight into the characters of men helped him to recognize that this young man might have the qualities for which he had long been searching. So he set up an ingenious plan by which to make a test. He began by giving the young man the story of his achievements. Then he began to suggest to him that the world needed a practical philosophy of individual achievement, which would permit the humblest worker to accumulate riches in whatever amount or form he might desire. There's no limits to this. For 3 days and nights, he elaborated upon his idea, describing how one might go about the organization of such a philosophy. When the story was finished, Mr. Carnegie was ready to apply his test to determine whether or not he had found the man who he could depend upon to carry his idea through to completion. You now have my idea of a new philosophy, he said. And I wish to ask you a question in connection with which I wish you to answer by a simple yes or no. The question is this: if I give you the opportunity to organize the world's first philosophy of individual achievement and introduce you to people who can and will collaborate with you in the work of organization, do you wish the opportunity And will you follow through with it to completion if it's given to you? The young man cleared his throat, stammered for a few seconds, then replied in a brief sentence that was destined to provide him with an opportunity to project his influence for good throughout the world. Yes, he explained, I will not only undertake the job, but I will finish it. That was definite. It was the one thing that Carnegie was searching for, definiteness of purpose. Many years later, the young man learned that Mr. Carnegie had held a stopwatch in his hand when he asked the question, and had allowed him 60 seconds for an answer. If the answer had required more than the opportunity, if the answer had required more time, the opportunity would have been withheld. His answer had actually required 29 seconds. You might ask yourself, if somebody asked you, would you work for 20 years? Dedicate 20 years to an idea? And you got to give a yes or no answer. There's no, well, what's the idea about? Come on. And the reason for the timing was explained by Mr. Carnegie. He said, it has been my experience, he said, that if a person cannot reach a decision promptly, once he has all the necessary facts for a decision at hand, cannot be depended upon to carry through with any decision that he makes. I have also discovered that people who reach decisions promptly usually have the capacity to move with the definiteness of purpose in other circumstances. He said the first hurdle of Mr. Carnegie's test had been covered with flying colors, but there was still another that followed. Well, Mr. Carnegie, you have one of the, very well said, Mr. Carnegie, you have one of the two important qualities that will be needed by the person who organizes this philosophy that I've described. Now I shall learn whether or not you have the second. The first quality, you got to answer fast. He did it in 29 seconds. Here's the second one. If I give you the opportunity to organize this philosophy, are you willing to devote 20 years of your time to research into the causes of success and failure without pay, earning your own living as you go along? That question was a shock to the man chosen by Mr. Carnegie, which was Napoleon Hill, but it was a shock for so important a job, for he had naturally suspected that he would be subsidized by Mr. Carnegie, his huge fortune. The guy's the wealthiest man in the world. And he says, you're not going to receive any money at all. However, he recovered quickly when the shock by asking Mr. Carnegie why he was willing to provide the money. Why was he not willing to provide the money for so important an assignment? He said, it is not unwilling to supply the money, Mr. Carnegie replied, but it's my desire to know that if you have in your nature's natural capacity for willingness to go the extra mile rendered for service before trying to collect pay for it. If you study most people want to know what they're going to get paid. They want to know what they're going to get paid. When I went to Nightingale Conant, I was there in 1966, had that meeting. And Earl dropped it on me that the most important thing was to have this definiteness of purpose. He didn't call it that, but that's what he was talking about. Is you got to figure out what you definitely love and then dedicate your life to it. Well, that's a definiteness of purpose. 2 years later, I had the office right beside his. I was doing exactly what Napoleon Hill said. Now, I just shared that with you out of this book. Um, The Master Key to Riches by Napoleon Hill. It's a phenomenal book. And when I was thinking this morning early, in fact, I woke up a couple of times during the night thinking, that Mikey wanted me to touch on purpose and vision. I thought, how am I going to do that? How am I going to explain that? It's not an easy thing to explain. And I thought, he tells the story very well in The Master Key. I will take and share that part of The Master Key. So I get in here early and took it down. I've got another one in. I got Brian, my son, gave me an autographed copy of The Master Key to Riches, um, an original printing of it. So I thought I'll just do that, and that's what I've shared with you. And if you want to find it, if you have The Master Key, I started reading on page 42. The story behind the organization of this philosophy is one with which had dramatic connotations in connection with the importance that Andrew Carnegie placed on definiteness of purpose. Halfway down the page is where I started that. Now, I think what you've got to do is find out, what do you love doing? What do you love doing? You might not love what you're doing. I didn't dislike what I was doing. I was earning all kinds of money. I owned the company, so I was treated fairly well by the guy that owned the company. And I believe you should treat yourself well. And that is why I put it right into my purpose. My purpose is to live and work in a prosperous environment. You see, I have learned a long time ago that your environment plays an enormous role on where you're going to go and what you're going to do. So when we talk about success, when we're talking about purpose, take a look around you. Who are the people you mix with? And I take a look at the people I mix with, and they're all part of this company. Now, I have some relatives that I mix with, but I mix mostly with people in the company. And the ones in the company are very successful. If people are not successful, they don't last in this company. They'll leave. We don't fire them. In fact, I don't even remember when we fired a person. They leave. And it's been a long time since anybody left this company. People don't quit here. People stay here. And why do they? Because it's a great environment. So I want a beautiful environment for myself. I really do. And I realize how important that is, because it's the environment that you're a part of that's going to really impact your thinking. It's going to impact what you're doing and where you're going. So I settled on that back in 1966. I didn't understand what I just read to you. I did not understand it for quite a while, so I didn't have it in writing for quite a while. But I was adapting and adjusting my entire life to do what Napoleon Hill essentially did. I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to this idea. And when I left his office, I knew I was coming back. I had no idea. I was very involved. The company was a pretty mature company with offices, and it was busy. I didn't have any desire to stay there any longer. I had fallen in love with this new idea that Earl mentioned. He said, decide what you love to do. Well, I loved to do what he was doing. He was researching into programs that would help people win. And then he was communicating those programs to the best of his ability that would help people win. And he was doing it all over the world. That's exactly what I wanted to do. And that's exactly what I have been doing now for many, many years. I'm not quite sure when it was that I really got the purpose written out in detail. But when I did, I've never adjusted one word except for the one that lady suggested. She said, there's no pleasure in your purpose. So make sure you put pleasure in it when you're doing your purpose. I want you to really stop and think, what do you really love to do? Now, you see, I locked into it, and then the vision, let's come back on the screen here, Scott. Here we are here. We're, say this is where you are here. This is me. I'm intellectually, emotionally, and physically locked into an idea. And then your vision spreads out from there. It just spreads out from there. And you have all kinds of things like this. Your vision is going to dictate who you attract into your life. We've got some really key people in this company. Some of them are going to be sharing with you here. And these people are important to me and my purpose because they're helping me execute this. I attracted Sandy Gallagher, and I could see that she was a key person because she understood money was so well. And so she became my partner. Now that's one thing there that would fall into place here. Arash joined our company, key person. Mikey joined our company, key person. Now I could go on, Tommy Collier, Scott, who's right now over in England. And these things could keep on going. These are all things that I've had to attract to execute my purpose. And then Sandy and I decided, along with most of the people in the company, that it was important we build schools in Africa. So that was definitely in harmony with our purpose. So the people that I've attracted to me, the people that our company has attracted, the goals that we set, the different things we're doing, these are all in harmony with the purpose. If they're not in harmony with the purpose, everything's going to move off track because it's what I'm doing with my life. Now, what are you doing with yours? See, you could have been struggling. You could have maybe fallen into that large 50% group of people that do a lot of things right and enjoy a lot of different successful ventures, but it's not consistent. It doesn't keep on going. There's not a long-range view of what you're going to do in the future that's in harmony with what you love to do. This is so important. So when we talk about, thanks, Scott, when we talk about purpose and vision, I think that's where it starts. I think it comes ahead of your goal. You see, when you set a goal's got to be on purpose. Now, my goal is definitely on purpose, and I've got it here on my goal card. There's certain little things that I do that are super important, and they're all something Napoleon Hill has taught me. There's something my mentors have taught me. These are not things that I've just originated out of the blue. Carry your goal written on a card and in your pocket or your purse so that you're going to touch it often. That brings the goal back to mind. But the very first thing that's more important than the goal is the purpose. It's your major purpose. What do you really love doing? You know, this is so important. It's so important. He talks on the major advantages of definite purpose, how to acquire a definite major purpose. There's 4 steps to it. And you start studying it, and it starts to become fairly obvious. But I think the whole thing can be boiled down to what Earl said. He said there's no secret to it. He said simply decide what you love to do. Then dedicate your life to it. Now, when I did that, I didn't know any of the people that are in this company today. I didn't know any of them. A major part of, I think, of a person's success is the person's assistant. When I talk to people, they ask me, what's the most important thing? I say, get an assistant, get an assistant. I remember talking to a gentleman, and I said, you need a Gina. He smiled and he said, I've got a Gina. It's his daughter. Gina is my assistant. See, when you have an assistant, your assistant will keep you organized. Your assistant will make sure that you're doing the things you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do them. They keep a calendar for you. That is very important. I attracted the right assistant. Obviously, she's been my assistant for 34 years. She and her husband are just great friends of mine. Now, when you get the purpose, it's got to be what you love to do. Maybe you love to do what I'm doing. I don't think there's anything better than what I'm doing. What I'm doing is the highest paid profession in the world. Now, there's only two sources of income. One is material, that's the dollars that you earn, the money you earn. And the other is a psychic income, the satisfaction you get from the work that you do. Well, I get phenomenal satisfaction what I do. I watch people's lives change right before my eyes. First of all, I watch the people in the company's lives. I watch them change. I watch Mikey change. I watch her come in here. She came in. She was working as a nanny. Not that that's a bad job. It's a very important job, but she had to acquire a lot of information that she didn't have to hold the job she's got now, and that was all self-study on her part. She dug in. She wanted a better position. She kept going. And you see, you've got to have the purpose. And then I think you take on top of the purpose and you start to outline all the things that you'd like to do. What would you like to accomplish? We're talking about your life. We're not talking about this year. We're talking about the rest of your life. What are those things? Because that's what that long range view, I see it like a funnel coming out of your head, and it broadens as you go down the road. Now, I said mine is to live and work in a prosperous environment that encourages productivity and pleasure. This goal or this studio is certainly a beautiful place to work. The energy in here is incredible. There's soft music playing all the time when I'm not broadcasting. It's automatic. It plays night and day in here. We have plants in here. The plants are trying to go right through the ceiling. Why? Because the energy is so good. The plants love it. If you haven't got good energy in a room, plants die. Well, plants in here go crazy. The energy is so good in here. This is where I work. It's a magnificent environment. My studio is 50 feet from my house. We're rebuilding the whole house. We're rebuilding it because there was things that we wanted. We've been in the house for 35 years, 37 years now. And so I thought, well, the only way to do it is tear the house down and rebuild it. And that's what we're doing. And it'll be a couple more months before I'm finished to live and work in a prosperous environment that encourages productivity and pleasure. See, these things are important. It's important that I keep moving in that direction. I'm doing what I love to do. So it's important that I create an environment that'll keep my head moving in that space. And I think you've got to do exactly the same thing. Now, I have watched Arash sort of follow suit with what I'm talking about. I've watched him change his appearance. I've watched him change his home. I've watched him change his house. I've watched Mikey do the same thing. I've watched Sandy do the same. I see it happening with people in the company. It's automatic. It's just automatic. It's because of the way we think. Is Arash there? Is Arash online?
Hey, Bob.
Hello?
Hey, Bob, can you hear me?
I can now, yeah. You're not very loud, but come on. Arash, this concept of purpose, where do you place it?
You know, I think it's such a, like you said, such a difficult topic to really communicate effectively because, for me, when I first got mentored by you, I didn't know what I wanted. I just know I wanted to change my life. And you said to me, and I'll never forget it, you said, your purpose will find you. Let's start with focusing on what you want. And that's exactly what happened. Bob, I was thinking about when you were talking about Carnegie and Napoleon Hill's meeting. Like, do you believe that Hill already had a purpose before that meeting, or did it find him once Carnegie gave him that opportunity within those 30 seconds?
No, I think it found him. I think I don't think you decide on a purpose. I think you discover it. I discovered it in the office with Earl. You discovered it when I was talking to you. Hill discovered it when he was sitting talking to Andrew Carnegie. I think you discover it. I don't think you decide on it. And that is because I believe that every one of us, I think God has hardwired every one of us to do something great with our life. And it's very important that we do something great with our life. We've been endowed with such phenomenal potential. And we've got to use it. We've got to utilize it properly.
Bob, I think you just said a key word. Like, if you look at all these examples, when you say utilize it, when the opportunity comes, you act on it. And you may not even know. I look back 11, 12 years ago, I wouldn't have known what I was doing at the time. But one of the things you asked everybody, and me included, is always, what is it that you really want? Well, I kept thinking about what I really wanted. And you asked me to do this exercise. You said, get out a piece of paper and write in the present tense of what you really want. And you said, don't worry about what comes on. Just really focus on what you want and not judging it. That opened the door for everything that's transpired for me discovering my purpose and really doing what I love.
Because your life has changed like night and day with it.
Yeah.
Well, what would you recommend? There's people listening to us right now. There's thousands of people all over the world. And they're listening to us right now. And I honestly believe, personally, that if they don't settle on a purpose, the odds of having consistent success is slim. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have some success. Doesn't mean you're not going to raise your income. Doesn't mean you're not going to have things working good. But if you want consistent success, if you really want to feel fulfilled, that fulfillment is so important. That's the satisfaction you get from how you spend your day. Well, you've got to admit, we get a lot of satisfaction from what we're doing because we are continually helping people wake up. And then you naturally want better house, better car, better education for the kids, better surroundings. That costs money. And it costs a lot more money to live today than it did, let's say, just a year ago, or 5 years ago, or 11 years, 12 years ago when you started.
Yeah, I love, it always brings me back to what you taught me that Earl asked you is find what you really love and go to work and dedicate your life to doing it. I mean, that's what you did. That's what I did. I didn't know I was doing it at the time. I don't know if you knew you were doing it at the time, but we have to start coming from a thinking point of what is it that we want to spend our time doing, because we're trading our time for what we do. And I think right now, February 15th, 2021, there's no better time to start thinking about that. So I take myself back, like I said, 11 and a half years ago, and all I had was optimism to listen to what you told me to do. And you said, just do what I tell you to the letter. So I really committed to doing that. And then all of a sudden, all these things started happening for me, and who I became started going at really at a massive rate, a massive speed. And when you start showing up and opening yourself up to finding the mentor, like I was lucky enough to find you, Bob, everything started transpiring because I did the thing. I did what you told me, even though I wasn't even really ready for it intellectually or emotionally, but I had so much faith in your ability and how simple you made it for me. And I think that's what I would encourage everybody to do as well.
You know, it's a tricky path in a way, because when you start to think of what you love to do, almost right on top of it, you start to think about money. And maybe what you love to do, you can't see how you can monetize it. But the truth is, that doesn't matter. There's one thing you do. What do you love doing? You're going to find your purpose is locked up in there somehow or another. See, your purpose is it's why you get out of bed in the morning. It's why we're alive. Now, I truly believe the major purpose in everyone's life is to become aware of their oneness with God. That's why we're here on the planet. Now, we've got to decide on what we're going to do in this lifetime. What is the purpose in this lifetime? Now, I have obviously found mine. You've obviously found yours. Sandy found hers. Gina found hers. Mikey's found hers. Tommy's found his. We are all moving in a direction, as a whole lot of people in our company are, because this environment is conducive to the unfoldment of our soul. And this is, we're talking about the evolution of the soul. We are a soul. We don't have one. We are one. And so as we get in, as he says here, the master key to riches, I think the master key is definitely your purpose. And then once you decide on your purpose, think of all the things you could do. Just let your mind take off. It just runs rampant. Just let it take off on all the different things you could do. They're going to fall into the category of your vision. Don't worry about the goal. When you get the vision, then say, now, what would I love to dive into right now? I'm going to take a bite out of this vision. That's where your goal lies. It's very important that your goals are on purpose. Goals got to be on purpose. If your goals aren't on purpose, you're going to be wandering sideways, and you're going to get off track, and you're going to be troubled. It's just not going to work out too well for you. So if we put it in order, your purpose, what do you love doing? Don't let that stop you from growing. You've got to take the time to figure it out. What do you really love doing? You know, I always say, when I was in Earl's office, and he said, Bob, there's no secret to this. He said, it's a simple matter of deciding what you love to do and then make a decision to dedicate your life to it. I knew when he said that to me, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I wanted to do what he was doing. Now, that didn't mean I want to sit at his desk and become a radio broadcaster, because that was his niche. That just gave him the vehicle of doing what he loved worldwide. That's what the radio broadcasting did for him. Well, teaching this has given me the opportunity to fulfill my desire, my want. And how do you see you fitting into this whole scene?
I think the same thing. I mean, I look at, when you find your purpose, it is life altering, because now you're not searching, going and trying different things. You know that everything you do has a purpose, and everything's aligned with your purpose. Like you said, your goals will be aligned with your purpose. And if it's not aligned, you don't do it. Or else you can leverage yourself and have somebody do it for you. As you keep growing on your purpose, I think when you find your purpose, that's when your life really starts. I really believe that, because you're operating with such a sense of urgency towards what you're doing. Everything in your life is going on that purpose. And, when you're talking and I'm listening to you read what was in the Master Keys to Riches, then it takes me a flashback to when you were coaching me, as I said earlier, where you said, what do you love to do? And I'll never forget it. I said, I love helping people. He said, you said, well, why don't you do that? And I said, I don't know in which way. He said, well, we got to figure that out. He said, because that is what it's about. It's leaving everyone better off than you found them. Well, as you triggered me to think, and I was doing it when I wasn't with you, is that's when everything came together. But that's when my life really, really started from a point of really making a big difference. And everybody sitting there, Bob, I know will have the same experience if they have the same intent to discover it.
I firmly believe that every one of us, we're surrounded by opportunity. You have, put the screen up for a moment, Scott. Let this represent you. You have a choice here. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. And when this power flows into your consciousness, you can make anything out of it you want. What you're going to do is build an idea. That idea could come in from an outside source, and it's either going to be a negative idea or a positive idea. If you're letting the media control you, odds are pretty good you're going to be looking at that. What they're telling you is something that's true. It's they're not making it up. It's not lies, possibly, but it's what's wrong. We've got to start looking at what's right. Get emotionally involved with that. What's right with ourselves? What's right with how we're living? Thanks, Scott. And that's, I think, where we've got to go. And when we start doing that, I think that's when we really start to make headway. Now, Raj, I'm going to turn this over to you for a few minutes because I've been going on here, and I know you've got some thoughts that you want to share. Raj is the Senior VP of Sales with the Proctor Institute. If you don't know us very well, we operate in 91 countries. If you love to do what we're doing, let us know. We'll show you how to do what we're doing. You see, I believe what we're doing here is what Napoleon Hill, what Andrew Carnegie was looking for. Carnegie was looking for someone to spread the word. Well, we're doing it. We're doing it. First, he found Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill found me. I found Raj. And on it goes. You can have an absolutely phenomenal life. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to keep sharing information. This, I believe, is the key, the purpose. If you haven't got it, don't worry about it. Make up your mind you're going to spend 5-10 minutes every morning, totally relax and think, what do I really love doing? How can I dedicate my life to it? I want to thank you for your attention. And Arash, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Bob. I think this is such a great starting point for our 5 days to purpose and profit. And every day is going to build on the next day. And I really, really encourage you guys to go watch this again and really get the depth of what Bob was talking about, And as you really go deeper and deeper into it and really think about what is it that I really want? These are great questions. I'm going to give you some really good questions that Bob gave me way back and I've helped a lot of people with. I want you to think for a moment, get really neutral with yourself and relax and ask yourself, how do I want to live? What do I want to spend my time doing? And right now you might not be able to even see it. Don't worry about that. But once we start asking ourselves critical questions and clear questions, that's going to open our heart up. Okay. And when we open our heart up, the truth is going to come out. Bob taught me a long time ago, you'll always know the truth because the truth resonates with the essence of who we are. And I want you guys to really start thinking from this truth. There is a purpose that all of us have. My belief is it has something to do with serving people in one way or another with whatever purpose it is. That's my belief. I was fortunate enough to find the right mentor in my life and know when the opportunity arose what to do with it, but the purpose found me. The purpose found Napoleon Hill when Bob was reading that. That's the first thing I thought of. The purpose found Bob when he wanted to work with Earl Nightingale. So the purpose is there, and everybody who's on this call, you're on the call for a reason, is you have a deep interest to improve your life and really start doing what you love. So take Earl's advice where he said, find out what it is you love, think about what you love, and dedicate the rest of your life to doing that. And if you do, and when you do, because you will, it is going to change your life, and everything you do will be on purpose. And I have such a strong belief in that, because I know where I was when I was stuck compared to where it is now. And it happens very quickly when you're on purpose, because all you do is go to that place. What is that place? The place is what you want. The place is what's worthy of the good you desire. And that's what I want you to think about. Okay. Mikey, I would like to bring you in and tell me what you think based on this.
Hey, Raj, I'm so excited. And I think that this was the perfect way to start this week, because over the last 12 years, hosting Q&As with Bob and with everyone in the company, our coaches at our events, one of the biggest questions we get is, how do I find my purpose? How do I discover my purpose? What if I don't know my purpose? And so I think that this is a big question that a lot of people have and a lot of people are struggling with. And I think Bob and you both outlined it so beautifully, but it's not something you can rush. Although we do have a great assignment we're going to give them at the end of the day, or you're going to give them at the end of the day, that'll help them with the process of discovering their purpose. But one thing that I think is interesting that I want you to touch on, and Bob just barely touched on it earlier, I don't know if anyone else caught it. He said that your purpose has to come before your goal. And I think a lot of people start by setting a goal and then try to make their purpose fit into the goal trajectory rather than the other way around. Would you talk about that for a couple minutes?
Yeah, so everything comes from really what it is your purpose is. Like everything we do has a purpose, like I said earlier. Like being on this call was a purpose. Like me being here has a purpose. So everything we do, and then we don't want to rush into our goals. We want to think about them based on our purpose. And let's say we're kind of cloudy about our purpose. Well, if you just start asking yourself the questions of, how do I really want to live? What am I doing right now? Is it worthy of the good that I desire? If you just start asking yourself, what attitude do I have towards myself? If you just start asking yourself and journaling these questions and really allow yourself to open your heart, okay? Because what happens is, as we're finding our purpose, what happens is we're removing scarcity from our heart. We're not letting the outside control our purpose. Our purpose is something so much greater than any fear we have, any obstacle we have. It goes right into the desire of who we are, and to express that desire. And I know this isn't a very easy topic to communicate, but it's such an important topic that you want to take time, because right now, if you're out of purpose, you're not going to be operating at your best. It's impossible. When you're on purpose, you're so inspired every day when you wake up. Like I was up this morning at 4:30, and normally I wake up at 5. Why? Because I couldn't wait for this call, that we were doing. Like it woke me up, and that's what happens when you're on purpose.
Raj, there is so much power in purpose. And one of the things that I think you're communicating is that you have to approach finding your purpose with intentionality. So you can't just sit back and wait for your purpose to come slap you in the face, but ask yourself those questions and do take action towards opening yourself up to discover your purpose. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly, like everything has an intent, whether you have an unconscious intent or a conscious intent. I'm recommending you have a conscious intent of discovering your purpose. And piggybacking off what Bob said, I think he gave a great exercise, is sit back, get in a relaxed state every day for 5 to 10 minutes, and just ask the question, what is my purpose? And this takes me back even before I met Bob, and this is probably one of the points that got me and Bob connected. And I used to, when I was going and searching, I always ask, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? And I just asked it, then I'd let it go. I'd surrender it. If the idea came, then and that's what Bob was talking about, like how he attracted the people into his life and into the company that he never knew, and really became aligned with the purpose.
I love that. Raj, I think the assignment you're giving everyone today is one of the most powerful assignments that I know of to help and aid in discovering your purpose. Can you walk us through what that assignment's going to be, why it's so why it's so important and why we really want everyone to take the time to actually do the assignment.
Sure. It takes me back, like I said, when I first met Bob, the first thing he had me do is he said, I want you to write out how you want your life to look 6 months from now. And he said, write it out in very clear descriptions and use emotional words. Emotional words like, I'm doing what I love, quantum leaps, massive results. Those are examples of emotional words. And he said, write it out and don't stop writing until you feel it's time to stop. And don't focus on how you can't, only focus on how you want to live. To this day, this exercise I do several times a year. If I am going and I'm noticing I'm getting off track, I get back on. I was telling Bob 2 weeks ago, we were on a coaching call together with a client, and he had her do this exercise, and he said it is the starting point to really discover how you can live and how you want to live. And so what I would love for everybody to do is take your time, write out today, as soon as you can, as soon as you get a time in your day, write it out, make this a priority, that you're going to write out your life 6 months from now in the present tense of how you want to live, and include all areas of your life. Include the profits you desire, include your relationships, include the vocation you want to work at, include the amount of money you want to earn, include your joy and happiness. And then I don't want you just to write it. You're going to see this week, the community is so important. Take a picture and post it in this private Facebook group. It will create so much accountability. Like for me, the more I do it, I'm always like, let the whole world be my accountability partner. So when you put it out, it's going to really inspire somebody else and inspire you as well.
I love that, Raj. Thank you so much. I want to hand it over to Tommy now. He's going to close us out. He's got lots of housekeeping items. There's been a lot of questions. So Tommy, if you could end today's call for us, that would be great.
You bet. Thanks so much, Mikey. And thank you, Arash. Wow, we're off to a fantastic start. I can't believe how incredible this is already. So hello, everyone. My name is Tommy Collier. I'm the Creative Media Director here at the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And it is my pleasure to be on here with you to bring this in for a landing each day this week. So now, first of all, I want to encourage you to all get into the powerful assignment that Arash just gave you. Watching the lessons that Bob is teaching this week is just part of the work. The real transformation comes from getting in, taking action on the daily assignments. So it's really important that you put your energy and focus into these assignments starting right now today, just as Arash just told you. So here's just a quick reminder of the assignment. You want to write a script of your life 6 months from now in the present tense, as if you're already living the way that you really want to live and earning the profits that you really want to earn. And then once you've written that, you want to take a photo of it and post it here in the group. Okay, so tomorrow's training is going to be another incredible lesson for you. Bob is going to be talking about some very important topics, paradigms and goals. So you want to make sure you're back here at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, or you can catch the replay, of course. And coming up later this week, we have so much more amazing information for you still. We have a full hour Q&A with Bob coming up on Friday, and a special announcement for you on Thursday that you don't want to miss. So stay tuned with us all week. And then just a few little housekeeping reminders to reiterate before we sign off. You can find the replay for today's broadcast and all of the other trainings this week under the unit section of the Facebook group. The units tab is found at the menu along the top of the group. And that is where everything important to this training can be found this week. So not only the replays, but also the Success Advisor introductions. You can get to know them a little bit better. And if you haven't met your Success Advisor yet, you can find them in the unit section. And just leave a comment if you don't know who your advisor is yet. And we have a whole team here in this group ready to help you connect with your Success Advisor. And we also post all the daily assignments under the unit section as well. So all the actions happening in the units. All right, another reminder is that this Facebook group is the only place where we're broadcasting this training, so you don't need another link or anything like that. And if you're watching this right now, you probably have already figured that out. If you want to get notified when we go live every morning, you can go into your notification settings for this Facebook group and turn on all notifications. Now, you're probably going to get a lot of beeps on your phone just because this group is so active from doing that, but that will let you know when we go live in the mornings. And you can also pin this group to your shortcuts for easy access this week as well. I recommend doing that. And as Arash and Mikey just alluded to, you're going to really get out of this training what you put into it this week. So make sure you're watching live with us every day, or watch the replay if you can't be on live. And as we all mentioned, put some effort into these daily assignments, because they're going to just make the world of difference for you. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you introduce yourself here in the group, and really engage in this positive, high-minded community. The replay for this training will be available as soon as we push stop here on the broadcast today. And I want to remind you that the replays for this training are available for just a limited amount of time. The replays are all going to come down on Monday, February 22nd at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you get the replays watched and rewatched before then, okay? And that is all for today. Thank you again for joining us. I'm really looking forward to seeing your posts flood in with all of your completed scripts for today. And just have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.